Good evening. I'll call this May 1st City Council meeting to order. If you join me in a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to Ms. Miller, could you do the roll call, please?
Michelle Volk. Here. Luke Hellier.
Here.
John Bermel.
Here.
Dan Walter.
Here.
Joshua Lee.
Here. I'll now move on to item number 3, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for residents or business owners or people in the city to have 3 minutes to comment about an issue. So you just kind of step forward and identify yourself. Tom? Yep, go ahead. Yep. No problem.
Old business first. A couple years ago, I came at the city here and tried to talk us into doing things a little differently with ice and stuff. And I came with 3 items, and 1.5 of them got resolved, I think. And I want to thank people. I haven't thanked yet for that. I'm not sure how many people were there. I surely don't want to thank Paul. And I want to tell you, there's a lot of things you can say about Paul, but sure, he's a man to look up to. That's all I got there.
I agree. Thank you.
The next thing is I'm putting on 2 concerts in Ritter Farm in June. Under the auspices of the Alzheimer's Association of Minnesota and North Dakota, I'm putting on these concerts in an effort to raise funds. And there's so much information I've given most people, and if you don't got any or interested, I sure have some couple things that might help you. But I'm really not trying to gain or elicit donations. There is information in there if you want to donate, how to do it. What I'm trying to do is invite you to come, to bring your family, bring your friends, to enjoy some good quality free entertainment, and then I'm hoping to grow my donations by growing my audience. I'll be honest with you. But Alzheimer's is a horrible thing. I think some of us know that, and there's nothing really else for me to say. Please think about coming. June 21st is the solstice, and Alzheimer's associations all over the world do something on the 21st. To shed light on Alzheimer's is the phrase they use. That's a Wednesday, so I put one on Saturday before that as well, the 17th. There's a couple of caveats that I should make that are not quite represented in those documents. One is, if you donate to this cause, you can get a tax-exempt receipt that even if you, generalize, whatever it is, I can't remember, you can use that tax-exempt receipt to cut down your taxes. Let's see. I'll be performing. I think I do a good job. The headliner is a group called Double Down Daredevils on up-and-coming bluegrass band, who I met a long time ago, called Double Down, in up north of there, just a little bit past St. Cloud in a music festival. They wisely didn't ask me to join their band, but I know them, and they, of the 6 members, 5 of them have Alzheimer's in their family. I suspect people in your audience do as well. It's just a horrible. Please come. Please bring your family. Please bring your friends. Next year, I think it's going to be at the Red Fox Tavern. It's got some benefits for me. They kind of came at me after I'd already paid the money for the farm. So hopefully that'll be next year, and hopefully that'll be from there on until we outgrow this facility. Anyway, please consider coming.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
So just for everybody, June 17th at Ritter Farm Park and June 21st at Ritter Farm Park.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Any other citizen comments? Okay, moving on to item number 4, additional agenda information. Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff is withdrawing item number 8, the Ritter Meadows Development EAW petition.
Okay,
Staff received word from the EQB today that it is still not a complete petition, and so there's nothing to act on tonight.
got it. Okay, so we'll remove item number 8 from the agenda. Moving on to item number 5, presentations, introductions. We have our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. John Hennon, to give our quarterly Parks and Rec report.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is the Parks and Rec quarterly report for the months of February, March, and April. And starting off with administration and just highlighting and giving an update on the park bond referendum projects. Just with an hour ago, the mayor and council attended a groundbreaking ceremony at Antlers Park, and you can see progress is moving well there. The earthwork contractor is there, getting ready, moving a lot of material in preparation for the construction. And as many of you know, we'll have a pavilion there, about a 4,600 square foot pavilion with about a 2,000 square foot meeting room. We'll have an all accessible playground, volleyball courts. Lakeville Brewery will have their concession stand, a trailhead, and additional parking. So the plan is to have that completed by this fall, and then we will open up the park in the spring. So this year, the park and beach will be closed down for the season. Moving on now to Ritter Farm Park Cabin. The contractor continues to move forward with making improvements in the cabin along with the addition. You can see that a deck was constructed here in the last couple months. We're putting on some siding on the addition and waiting for it to warm up a bit so we can stain the exterior of the structure. And as we move forward, we're also working on the interior components. As you can see in the upper right-hand corner, the plan is to have that done in the month of June. So that's moving as well. Finishing up the loading dock at the Art Center, probably about 30 days away from that being completed. But we did have a large production here about a month ago, and they used the loading dock and it worked out really well for them to bring their material in from the outside and just pull right on in and lift it up to stage height versus going through a series of stairs on the north end of the structure, which we've been doing for many years. So you can see we have a new office that was also created as part of the project. So that is almost completed. Another project as part of the referendum was the Avonlea Community Parks. That will be constructed next year. So we're in the design phase this year. Plans are to go out for bid in January of 2024, but you can see the elements that will be part of this park: athletic decks, pickleball courts, the splash pad where the Lions donated $500,000 towards the splash pad, if you recall, a playground and a baseball diamond along with a series of trails. So again, planning that and going out for bid next year and having that constructed by the end of 2024 and opening in 2025. And then also as part of the park bond referendum, we're going to be replacing about 38 to 39 old ID signs, type A or B. You can see the old one up on top and then the new design on the bottom. So Prior Lake Landscape was the low bidder on that project, and you'll be asked to approve a contract with Prior Lake Landscape on tonight's agenda. And then a project that is not part of the park bond referendum is the Nob Hill Neighborhood Park. We master planned that last fall, opened up bids here recently. 6 contractors submitted bids on the project, with Blackstone Contractors being the low bid. They actually constructed 2 of our parks last year. They do nice work, and my guess is they'll probably start this project in the next couple weeks here. And again, this is north of 179th Street, east of Flagstaff Avenue and west of Pilot Knob Road. Under park maintenance, taking care of that last snow event. After that, now we're able to kind of change our equipment out, get rid of the blowers and the brooms and put on some mowing equipment. We also usually improve one warming house each year, and this year we're doing Dakota Heights, putting in a new floor, a new door, and you can see the work that's being done on the bottom picture at Dakota Heights Warming House. Looks like we lost a little, oh, there we go. No? Well, we got ash trees we're taking out. So we're removing ash trees, working with our forestry department to remove ash trees that were designated to be removed. And we're also, this is the time of year that we're doing some work inside the, which would includes preparing barrels and picnic tables for the season. We also opened up the fields this year, or just about 10 days ago, so all fields are now open and ready for play. If we get a significant rainstorm, we'll shut them down, but within the last week, our guys striped about, they're telling me about 100 athletic decks in preparation for the season. And with that, we also open up all our restroom facilities. And then with the heavy storm that we received, the heavy snow event, we have a lot of broken branches and trees in our system. So if you happen to be driving by a park, you'll see some branches that are down. We're aware that they're out there. We just got to find some time to get out there, take care of those. Under recreation, a number of projects that occurred or programs here in the past 3 months. Ice fishing contest, where we had about 220 participants. The adult and child dance was held in Rosemont this year. We worked with them on that, 200 participants. The golden egg hunt, 340, and the Easter scramble at 146. And then Lowe just rolled out a web track interface upgrade, and staff did a lot of behind-the-scenes work to ensure a smooth transition, and so far the upgrade has been received quite well. And also in the recreation department, we're getting ready for our summer programming. We have already 2,000 people that have signed up to participate in summer programs, and you can kind of see the list of them on the right-hand side of the screen here. Over at the Arts Center, they received or put in a new gas kiln that was installed, and with that, they can do some fused glass projects, as you can see on the screen. And they also had a new project or program this year. A project in Pour was held at the Emporium Room. This was the first of this collaborative effort between the Arts Center and Lakeville Liquor, so that was successful as well. The Arts Center has also set up a Live at the Lake concert series at Casperson Park. If you recall, we constructed the outdoor performance stage last year. We just have a few punch list items left on that, but the concert series is going to go from June 21st to August 30th. That's every Wednesday evening for 11 shows. June 21st, we'll have Mick Sterling there with a tribute band it's a tribute to Billy Joel. And then the week later, the June 28th, we'll have a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we'll open up the facility for the season. And we did have had to touch up the irrigation here recently and put some seed down in the last 2 days. So hopefully we have some grass in 6 weeks where we can be out on the lawn in that area. Something that is also new is the Lakeville Art Crawl. That's May 13th from noon to 7. And there'll be 25 artists that will be featured. The event will include live music and food, and that will be downtown. And numerous businesses downtown will have artists in their shops displaying their artwork. So that's a new project. So both of these are new programs through the Arts Center this year. They also have registrations going on for summer programming. You can see some work that they've already done, and then the programs on the right-hand side, which include beginning pottery and kids' clay workshop and some pottery camps. Over at the Heritage Center, they are busy over there as well. You can see the spring is around the corner here, so they're preparing for their Bags League and music jam sessions, and it's always active over there. They are now they're almost at 1,380 members at the active adults, which is an all-time high, and you can see they participate in numerous programs and events over there, including Mardi Gras celebration. They have a luncheon, and then there's an open house once a year where they're trying to recruit additional members. And summer is coming, so looking ahead, we have a Ritter After Dark on May 5th. a little Puzzlepalooza on the 19th, and then art sample on June 12th, just to name a few. So I'll stand for any questions.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions, comments? Thank you very much for the report. We're looking forward to a very busy summer schedule.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 6, the consent agenda. Any items you wanted to highlight, Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. Items 6F is a contract for a business survey with Polco. This is the same company that's doing our citizen survey, and we're doing this as part of the Envision Lakeville process. Item 6H, as Mr. Hennon alluded to, is an agreement with Prior Lake Landscape for the park ID signs. Just bring this up again to remind people or to inform people about the progress being made on the park referendum projects. And then item 6N is a resolution accepting donations to the Parks and Recreation Department. 2 in particular that I'd like to highlight: $10,000 donation from College City Beverage for the 4th of July fireworks, and $26,000 from the Lakeville Lions going toward improvements at Ritter Farm.
Well, very good. Any items that members of the council wanted to discuss or pull? Yep, Joshua?
I forgot I had a question for John. When, in relation to the sign replacements, should folks expect just the sign to be replaced or the landscaping around the signs to be replaced?
Yeah, it's going to be the sign and the landscaping. So we'll have some keystone block work underneath the sign, and that a landscape plan that you saw up on the screen there. So all of them will have new signs and landscaping. Yep.
Appreciate it. It was in relation to item H, so.
See it? Yeah. Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion about the consent agenda? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Okay, consent agenda passes. We'll move on to item number 7. A public hearing on the application for Sakura Sushi Hibachi Grill for a 3-2 malt liquor license. I know that the applicant is not here, but we will hold our public hearing, so I will open the public hearing if there's any comment. Seeing none, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second? Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So are we gonna have a presentation from the police department or anything? We'll just, okay. So seeing none, will we take a motion on the license? Yep, John?
I make a motion to grant a 3-2 malt liquor license for Sakura Sushi Hibachi Grill located at 17629 Cedar Avenue.
Is there a second? Any discussion about the motion? Okay, I think we now need a roll call, so
Hellier,
aye?
Rommel,
Aye.
Walter, Lee,
Aye.
Volk.
Aye.
All right, congratulations to the applicant. It's not they don't care, they're working at the restaurant, that's why they're not here, so. Give them a lot of credit for taking over that location and moving on, so. Moving on to the new number 8, Ritter Meadows preliminary plat and easement vacation, and we'll be turning it over to our consultant, Mr. Licht, for an update. As a reminder, this is a carryover from an item from 2 weeks ago.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Daniel Licht with the Planning Company presenting on behalf of City staff. As the Mayor said, this item was tabled from April 17th to allow City staff to work with the developer and follow up on a number of questions that the Council had raised. Reminder, the application is before you tonight are subject to the requirements of the zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance as the basis for your decision. The 3 outstanding issues pertain to the wooded area at the northwest corner of the site, the location and connection of Keokuk Avenue between 205th Street and Christine Drive as proposed within the development, and then also the striping plan and access to 205th Street, both within the plat and adjacent to it. With regards to the wooded area, Engineering Division and Environmental Resources staff visited the site on April 25th to inspect the wooded area at the northwest corner of the project. As you can see, it's a smaller area that's part of a larger woodland area extending north and west. The size of it makes it of limited value from a recreational or open space preservation standpoint without protection of the adjacent properties as well. What the city staff found in terms of their inspection was that the trees within that area have limited value for protection from an environmental standpoint, especially in consideration of the cost of developing and maintaining that natural area as part of the city's park system. City staff also notes that this area was not identified for preservation as part of the Parks, Trails, and Open Space Plan. West of I-35, there are obviously significant areas that are preserved for open space in a natural state, including Ritter Farm Park, Murphy-Hannerhan Regional Park, and the Soberg Wildlife Preservation Area as well. This area is actually somewhat similar in terms of the question of preserving it as the Big Woods Stand that was identified on the Parks, Recreation, and Trails Plan in 2015. That's located east of Highview Avenue at 185th Street, that was taken as part of the Coslano preliminary plat. And when staff went out and looked at that, the area really had limited value, and it demands significant resources beyond just saying we're going to preserve these trees. So within the context of the city's overall parks, recreation, and trail system plan, the recommendation is not to require that area be set aside for parks or accepted as park dedication. With respect to Keokuk Avenue and the connection of between Christine Drive and 205th Street, as outlined in our previous presentation and the memorandum included in the packet, Christine Drive is being constructed to a minor collector street standard, essentially serving that connection from a transportation standpoint, at least in an interim basis until outlots D or E would develop. At that point, those two properties would require preliminary plat approval. There'd be the need for a traffic study to be submitted to evaluate the need to connect Keokuk Avenue down to 205th Street through Outlot D, as well as the Dunham property, and evaluate the feasibility of accomplishing that. So from a transportation standpoint, the preliminary plat that's before you can be adequately served by the proposed streets that are to be constructed with the first phase of development, and city staff does not recommend a change or the requirement to acquire right-of-way from the area of Outlot D as part of the preliminary plat. Then with respect to 205th Street, the preliminary plat provides for right-of-way dedication on the north side of the road to bring the right-of-way width up to 120 feet as required by the subdivision ordinance and the transportation plan. The developer will also construct turn lanes at Christine Drive and Keystone Avenue necessary to move traffic into and out of the development. And one of the issues raised at the prior meeting was concern about the striping for 205th Street west of the plat, accessing the River City Asphalt property. Engineering division staff has worked with the developer and the adjacent property owner on a plan to restripe that roadway to address the adjacent property owner's concerns and maintain full access at their driveway. With respect to the comment made at the prior meeting with regards to acquisition of right-of-way and improvement of the roadway to an urban section, that's not a requirement of the subdivision ordinance, in that the property is adequately served by the road in its current condition. So city staff's recommendation remains approval of the application based on consistency with the comprehensive plan, compliance with the subdivision and zoning ordinance. That is also consistent with the recommendations of the Parks, Recreation, and Natural Resources Committee and the Planning Commission. You have resolutions as part of your packet this evening to affect that action.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lick. Any comments or questions from the city council on what we just got covered? I think you covered everything that was addressed last meeting. Yeah, Joshua?
Just a appreciation for outlining it item by item for the concerns that were brought to the council last time. I don't have any further questions from what you presented, but it's helpful to understand those things bullet by bullet. So thank you for that.
Okay. You know, this is not a public hearing, but as we have the tradition and we did at the last meeting, I welcome any comments from the public that is about new information. And please limit your comments to 3 minutes. I'll keep a timer here. So yeah, Mr. Engelbrecht. 3. Okay.
This is a done deal.
Not until we vote.
Yeah. So this is a preliminary plat. So they go through some more engineering and then it's a final plat. Yeah, I think you might be confused. This preserves Ritter Farm. There's no impact. There's no impact to Ritter Farm Park. This is an adjacent parcel about a mile north of Ritter Farm Park.
My mistake.
Yep, no problem.
Still.
I don't know. I'd have to look at the notes. No. Other comments? Yep.
Good evening, Craig Kepler, Beston Flanagan, 60 South 6th Street, Minneapolis, 55402, representing Valley Paving and the Karen family. 2 points. One is the north corner, and I have an it up. Not only is it wood, and not only is there wildlife.
Can I just interrupt you? Could you just pull the microphone? Yep.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah. It not only is it wooded, and not only is there wildlife that inhabits the forested area, but it's also steeply sloped. And the Karen property immediately to the west continues to be steeply sloped. So the proposal is to stub a street against a retaining wall right on the Karen property line. This is the last piece that's going to be developed. It's going to be years before there's any houses back there. They're going to have to cut significantly into the slope to put homes there. And the value of this as a wooded area, as the previous commenter noted, is it's literally invaluable to the community. And the staff's comment was, this little piece alone isn't a significant amount of woods, but as we discussed, the Karens are willing to pledge a similar amount because it is a steep slope there, and neither this side of the property line nor that side of the property line is particularly feasible for development because of the steepness of the slope. And the woods are valuable. It's a valuable community asset. Enough on that. The roadway, I know staff did say that it was restriped, and this is the restriping plan. I did notice that this restriping plan wasn't part of the packet in front of the board today, so just as a technical matter, I just want to make sure that this restriping plan is part of what's approved if the council approves it. And finally, on the wetland issue, you know the Karen family is extremely concerned about this. That the Dale property has been being drained slowly for years. The proposal will take the groundwater elevation even lower than it currently is. The Karen property is connected. We don't know how intricately connected, but it's connected nonetheless by groundwater. And the worry is that this is going to essentially act as a siphon to pull, or could essentially act as a siphon to pull water out of the Karen property. We think there's just significantly more work in terms of study that needs to be done to find out, the degree to which wetlands on the Karen property are perched or not, or connected to the groundwater source. Thank you.
And just to clarify, tonight is the preliminary plat, and so if there is changes from the EQB, there will be analysis done. So, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Cassandra Wolfgram. I'm here from Doherty, Melinda, Solfest, Hills, and Bauer, 14985 Glacier Avenue, Suite 525 in Apple Valley. I'm here on behalf of Michael and Catherine Dunham, who are here today. What the consultant did not discuss is what's going to happen to their property, which is in the middle of this. And Mr. Mayor, may I approach briefly? The Dunhams have significant concerns about the fact that their property will essentially be an adverse taking, and that they're going to be losing their property when the right-of-way for Keokuk finally does go through. And the solution to this was for the Planning Commission and for the developer to say, well, we're not going to go through their property now. Well, it's still an issue. No matter what, when 205 gets platted, when Keokuk goes through, their property has to be addressed. And as of right now, it hasn't been. So we have 4 conditions that we would like to have added onto any developmental plat today. 1, the developer shall upgrade 205th Street to an urban standard within the first phase. 2, the developer shall have acquired all necessary right-of-way easements to accommodate the construction. 3, the developer shall construct Christine Drive within Phase 1. And 4, the preliminary plat shall be revised to include the proposed right-of-way for Keokuk Avenue south of Christine within the area of Outlot D. And we want that to occur during the first phase. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Licht, if you had any response to those conditions, I think these conditions were brought to us 2 weeks ago, but I'm not positive.
Mayor, that's correct. Those conditions were presented previously. So dedication of right-of-way for Keokuk Avenue between Christine Drive and 205th Street is not necessary for the plat. The need for that to be dedicated in the future will be determined in the future. So there's no potential impact to the Dunham's property. As a result of the plat, it exists as it does today. With respect to the urban section for 205th Street, there is no requirement in the subdivision ordinance that this developer upgrade that roadway. Outside of their plat, they are providing the turn lanes that they need to accommodate traffic generated by the development, and the road has sufficient capacity to accommodate that traffic. Christine Drive is being constructed as part of the first phase of development, and that is noted on the phasing plan that's included as part of the packet. And with respect to, I believe I also addressed the right-of-way issue.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Yep. Any other comments from the, yeah, go ahead.
Mayor, Council, Ben Schmidt with Twin Cities Land Development. You won't need your timer because I'm going to keep it super brief. I had 4 things that I wrote out before the meeting, really excited to talk, and then Dan covered them all. So just a couple quick things I wanted to cover. I think it's worth 1 minute. Relative to the issue that was just raised at Keokuk and a potential taking, I know there's a lot of talk about that a couple weeks ago, and as your staff has pointed out, I mean, our plan does not show Keokuk going down to 205th. Keokuk is a minor collector. Christine's a minor collector. Christine will be built in the first phase, so there's no need for Keokuk to extend. You know, if you asked a traffic engineer, they'd probably say it'd be nice for that intersection to be at Keokuk and 205th, but if there was a big rock in the way, then you'd go around it. And that's what I see our plan doing, and quite frankly, it could do that forever. But, you know, for the circumstances change, that'll be dealt with in the future, but I don't think there's any issue now. Relative to River City Asphalt and their access, certainly a good question was brought up, and the striping plan originally, made it confusing, but certainly I've sat through all the meetings, and I don't think there's been any time where there's been any desire to cut off any portion of their access. You know, certainly not from us, and I don't think from city staff. So I think that part hopefully is solved. And then relative to the wood area in the northwest corner, staff went out, looked at it. Again, you've heard what they had to say. From our perspective, we have a revision to the plan that we're happy to offer that would remove the roadway that would go to the west to the Cairns for future development. So that way there'd be no concern over whether a road would ever need to go through that area and the woods in their portion. It really doesn't change the preliminary plat. We just kind of remove that road stub. It would then make it so that way grading in that area would be a little bit easier, would reduce that retaining wall up against their property as well. We're happy to make that change. I don't know if it's anything that needs to be described much now, other than if you want that to say, hey, remove the stub to the west, no problem, happy to take that. And then relative to water, this site, certainly there's a lot of water that moves from west to the northeast. It ultimately outlets at the northeast of this site. Our plan, we've got a series of ponds, like any development. You've got a series of ponds that holds surface water as it makes its way through the site. But that water exits at the northeast at the same rate that it does today. We're not changing that at all. I mean, it'll be the same rate it is today post-development. That is an absolute. And so I think that issue hopefully is one that we can kind of put to bed, at least as it relates to our development. And then finally, I think I'm doing okay. Finally, just, there's been a lot of talk about this was a mine, a gravel pit back in the day, true, operated according to the plans and permits and things in place at the time. It was then reclaimed. There was a reclamation plan that was approved. The reclamation was done in accordance with that plan, and when we look at the existing conditions today, we say they're very close to what that reclamation plan was. So again, evidence that it was reclaimed according to that. And the site has gone through a EAW process. I've spent more time and effort on this site than I ever have in on any other site in the past. And what you've got before you really is a plan that meets with the existing subdivision ordinance completely. I mean, we're not asking for any variances, any different approvals outside of what the subdivision ordinance. We're just bringing forth a plan that meets that ordinance. And so we're looking forward to an approval. Obviously, stand for any questions. I've got our engineer and our soils engineer all here. They're anxious to speak. I'm going to tell them to not talk unless you have questions for them. With that said, I appreciate your time, and again, I understand it's been a lengthy process for all of us, but I think a good process. I think we're coming to a good result, I hope. Thank
You have
you.
a question for Mr. Schmidt? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Any other comments? Okay, council, anything that you want to discuss, or I'll take a motion? Yep, John?
Make a motion to approve, 1, a resolution approving the Ritter Meadows preliminary plat, and 2, a resolution vacating roadway easements.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion on the preliminary plat?
Can you do me a favor?
Yes, ma'am.
For the public and the public that's listening, can you just, or somebody from staff, talk about what a preliminary plat is and what it means as far as completion on a project or not?
Absolutely. Mr. Licht?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Volk. So the preliminary plat essentially establishes the developer's entitlement to develop the property as shown in terms of the number of lots and dwelling units. It's a preliminary design, so there is substantial work that needs to be done, taking it from this preliminary design through to a final plat stage where all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed in terms of construction plans, stormwater management review and permitting, and any aspect with regards to improvements adjacent to the plat, such as 205th Street. So that process comes back through the city, reviewed by city staff, presented to the city council. There's also a development contract that accompanies that, binding the developer to complete the plans as presented, providing securities to complete the project as presented, and ensuring the project complies with all city regulations and those of the state.
Thank you. And then, one other, I do have a question. I just have to remember what it is. The input between preliminary plat and the final plat, is there still input from the adjacent landowners, et cetera, to the developer, or is there, or what is the process for them to continue to watch this go through and make sure that their concerns are heard?
Mayor, Councilmember Volk. So the adjacent property owners can stay in contact with city staff to monitor the progress of the plat moving towards final approvals. As I indicated, there are a substantial number of permits and reviews that need to be completed both by MPCA and DNR with respect to the stormwater issue. So the best point of contact would be city staff.
Thank you.
Other comments? Yep, Joshua?
My only comment is that, the concerns were not unheard by the council and by staff, and I just want the public to know that, particularly when it comes to preservation, I'm constantly looking at how are we going to maintain our waterways and our environment resources here. And one of the ways we do that is through park dedication, easements into streams and waterways. And we have a very good process for doing those things. And in this particular case, we have park dedication opportunities for continued green space. And we'll continue to be looking at that because there's much more development to be done in this area in the future. But in the case of the other points and concerns, I feel like staff has done a very good job of outlining and responding to those, and therefore I'm comfortable moving forward with this preliminary plat. So just wanted to make that comment before moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Okay, if not, I'll take roll. Ms. Miller, please.
Bermel?
Aye.
Walter? Lee? Volk?
Aye.
Hellier?
Aye. Okay, good work, everybody. Moving on to item number 10 and 11, unfinished business and new business. I don't believe we have any this evening. Moving on to number 12, the announcements. Our next regular meeting is here, May 15th, and that is for a general city council meeting. And then we have our May work session at the water treatment facility on May 22nd. And I will now take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.